Indonesia. So, Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Alhaji Yusuf Sulemana, Honorable Member of Parliament for Jomro, my own sister, Dorcas Afo Tofe, who is the MP bereaved for the moment. You can see her, she's in black, not by intention, but by default. So we are with you in what has happened. Colleague public sector leaders, distinguished guests, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you all. I thought we had settled our case and that we are friends. So good morning to you all. It is with great pleasure and a deep sense of responsibility that I welcome you all to the maiden edition of the Interagency Dialogue hosted by the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. Indeed, today marks a significant milestone in our collective journey towards building a globally competitive, resilient, and inclusive petroleum industry, one that is sustainable and responsive to the needs of our people, attractive to investors, and aligned with Ghana's long-term development agenda. The President of the Republic of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama, has envisioned a Ghana which is industrialized, which is just not sitting to see industrialization in this country, also to create a job for the people. So this program is very consistent with the President's vision. We are here because we recognize that the success of Ghana's Petroleum Hub vision is interlinked not with one agency, one ministry, or one entity, but with the harmonized effort of many institutions, public and private alike. Each of us in this room represent a cog in the wheel of national progress. And when that meets and that wheel turns smoothly through collaboration, shared information, clear mandate, and mutual respect, our nation moves forward. Too often, however, our efforts have been siloed. We have had good intentions, but fragmented actions. The result of delays in policy execution, missed investment opportunities, and a general perception of bureaucracy that deters the very partners we are trying to attract. So it's quite clear that when we have good intentions, we are also distracted by these inertias. This dialogue is an opportunity to shift the narrative. The question is, what's the role of the Petroleum Hub? Well, this question is very relevant because I've said it elsewhere that when I was appointed, a good friend of mine who is supposed to be very educated called and congratulated me. And I asked him, do you know anything about the Petroleum Hub? Some of you know the answer already. They said, no, in fact, this is the first time I'm hearing about that. But you know, there's petroleum around it, so it must be a good place. So it is the petroleum that makes it a good place, it's not the hub. So I think today it's very important that for some of us who are still not clear, about what the hub is, we will have to share this explanation. The PHDC was established by an Act of Parliament in 2022 to promote and facilitate the development of Ghana's first integrated petroleum and petrochemical hub. In fact, this will not be Ghana's first, it will be Africa's first hub of this nature. This hub, when fully operational, will not only change the face of our petroleum landscape, but will also position Ghana as a strategic energy and logistics gateway in the sub-region. We envision a hub that is more than just a collection of refineries, tank farms, pipelines, and ports. We envision a hub that becomes the beating heart of energy transformation in West Africa. A hub that creates jobs, drives innovation, builds local capacity, and strengthens Ghana's economic sovereignty. But we cannot build this vision alone. It will require the dedicated support of regulatory agencies, planning authorities, environmental bodies, security institutions, NGOs, and commercial actors, each playing a critical role in turning the strategy into reality. It must be a culture. We must mainstream processes, align our timelines, reduce duplication, and ensure that our communications are consistent and timely. Investors are watching, citizens are also watching, and they are looking to us for leadership, not just in vision, but in execution. So this dialogue provides a platform to share updates on the hub's development progress, clarify roles and expectations between and among stakeholders, identify pain points and barriers to collaboration, and of course, propose mechanisms for regular engagement and accountability. Let me share a short thought about a study that was conducted by the Hub. If you want to establish a petrochemical plant in Ghana, and you want to go through all the regulatory agencies one by one, it will take about 492 days to do that. 492 days. Which investor would want to stay for 492 days for him to get an EPA permit or water permission permit or some other permit? So this idea is to break this gap, and for us, we are looking at 30 days for an omnibus title to be given, or omnibus permit to be given, not short staging the process though. So for me, on a personal note, as a CEO of the Hub, I am fully committed to working with each of you. My door is open, and my team is ready to partner with yours. Let us replace territorialism with teamwork and bureaucracy with breakthrough thinking. Let this maiden dialogue not be a one-off event, but the beginning of an institutionalized mechanism for coordination, reflection, and action. We owe it to our nation. We owe it to the next generation. And so to conclude, I want to thank all of you for honoring this invitation. We were not sure how many would have time to come, but I've seen all my colleagues here. I've seen all the relevant colleagues from public agencies. I've seen my colleague, I don't want to mention names, but if I start and I don't mention anybody, somebody, I'll be in trouble after this. So I want to thank you all for coming. The work ahead is great, but so too is our collective capacity. Let us embrace this moment, this mandate, and this opportunity to build a petroleum future that works for all. Thank you very much, and may God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tony Obeng. And you know, your friend may not be alone in not knowing about the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. Because even me, the very first time I heard about the Petroleum Hub was having a conversation with former Deputy Minister of Energy, Joseph Kuju, at the time, and he said, oh, one of the things I'm happy I'd achieved was the establishment of the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. I said, okay. And I forgot about that until your appointment. Then somebody said, oh, have you spoken to Dr. Tony Obeng? And I said, what's his position now? He says, oh, He's the CEO of the Petroleum Hub. I said, okay. Has it been set up now? Because at the time, when I heard, oh, we're going to be set up, I didn't follow up. I didn't even know it had been set up. And that was when I actually went looking for the Act of Parliament. And I realized that, well, that act was passed in 2022. So your friend may not be alone, which means that you have a huge task on your hands to make sure that people would not only get to know about it, but the attainment of that integrated petrochemical and petroleum hub is achieved. I'm happy that you say you want to ensure that, look, how do we spend over 400 days getting licenses? I certainly would leave if I have to spend all the time here getting one license after the other. So I'm happy we're having this conversation, and once we're here, we'll follow up to make sure that all the promises, all the pledges are fulfilled. And like you said, this is the first of its kind in Africa, and being the gateway to Africa, we cannot fail. We must succeed. You were right when you indicated that the Deputy Minister of Energy and Green Transition was going to be joining us, so you acknowledged him in absentia. He's here with us, and I'm told he's ready to give us some brief remarks. Let's welcome Richard Jan Mensah with a huge round of applause as he gets ready to address us.
Distinguished guests, industry leaders, stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm actually stepping in for my boss, the Honorable Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Honorable John Abdullahi Tinabo. It is a privilege and an honor to be here this morning for the maiden edition of the Interagency Dialogue organized by the Petroleum Hub Corporation. I would like to commend the leadership and the team at Petroleum Hub Development Commission for the timely initiative which seeks to create a platform for coordination, collaboration and alignment across our key public institutions. The Petroleum Hub Development Corporation, I've seen that you've actually carved it PHDC. It's part of the government vision to position Ghana as a leading petroleum and petrochemical hub in the West African Reserve region. I would want to say that should be for the whole of Africa, because currently we don't have any. So I want the Petroleum Hub Corporation to take note, as you rightly said in your presentation. The hub is anchored within the framework of industrial transformation and to enhance energy security. And the hub also represents the strategic projects in Ghana's recent petroleum development history. However, we should not lose sight of the fact that a project of this magnitude will be accompanied by diverse complexities within the technical, economic, policy, regulatory, and environmental space. Today's event, which puts the policy and the regulatory aspects in the spotlight, should be an opportunity to draw insights from the valuable expertise across the industry and beyond, and navigating a web of regulatory and policies, and finally, identifying actionable steps that would accelerate the petroleum hub development with little or no hindrance. Let me emphatically state that the success of the petroleum hub is not the responsibility of one institution, but a collective enterprise. It will require commitment, creativity, and above all, cooperation of all stakeholders. As such, I urge all the institutions represented here today to approach this dialogue with openness, proactivity, and shared sense of purpose. Let's promote a collective sense of national responsibility that will lead better collaboration, innovation, and success. Let us work together to remove the redundancies and simplify our processes and create an enabling environment that will make Ghana the investment destination of choice for the petroleum and petrochemical industry in West Africa. On behalf of the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition and my minister, I wish to reaffirm our full support for the Petroleum Hub Development Commission and all agencies involved in this historic project. I challenge all of us here especially the agency heads present here. I see MPA, I see Bost here, I see Tor, a few that I've not actually acknowledge you. Kindly permit me to say that. The minister wants to say that he wants to challenge every one of us here to live here with a clear commitment and renewed energy to drive the Petroleum Hub vision forward. Together, let us lay the foundation of a more industrialized, energy secure, and prosperous Ghana. At this point, I wish to thank you all, and I wish that we have a very fruitful and impactful dialogue. Thank you. God bless Ghana, and God bless the Petroleum Hub Commission, and make it great and strong as we want this country to be actually acknowledged. Thank you.
And I'm sure that would bring a lot of excitement to the CEO. We'll be monitoring. You know, one of the things I like is that once anybody makes a promise, then I note it, so that there could be others, because I even didn't know. So what are the opportunities that are available? What are the investment opportunities that you can take advantage of? What does it seek to achieve? At this juncture, let's welcome, with a round of applause, the Abigail Abrakwa, who's Senior Manager Business Development at the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation, as she presents on investment and business development. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mosqueda. I would like to stand on the existing protocol and acknowledge our ministers here present, and all other CEOs that are present. Thank you very much for your presence with us as a corporation. And we are very honored that you are in our midst. We would say that those of us gathered here today are mainly stakeholders and regulators in the industry. And so what has this got to do with us in terms of investment? But like the CEO rightly said, until we understand what the opportunities are, until we understand what we stand to gain when we come together, we will not be able to move this project forward. So please indulge me in the next few minutes to walk you through what opportunities are available. Since you interface with investors all the time in terms of regulation, you'll be able to give us pointers where we should go to, who we should talk to, and how we should approach the entire investment opportunities and make Ghana proud. So please indulge me in the first few minutes and let me walk you through our presentation. Thank you. So PHDC, as the CEO said, is a body established by an Act of Parliament in 2020. Our main focus on the mandate of this act is to make Ghana a destination for energy trade and energy investment. This initiative was started by His Excellency, former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and coming to this new administration, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has reiterated the fact that he wants to make this project one that would support the 24-hour economy, because this is a massive infrastructure development, for which reason he has thrown his weight 100% behind this project. And so if we're all gathered here today with all the CEOs present, the vision and the mandate is the same, to support PHDC to bring this investment to light. We'll look at the Act of Parliament in two folds, and my colleague will look at it from an operational perspective, but I'm here today to look at it from an investment perspective. And these are the clear mandates that the Act permits us to do. So we are mandated by the regulation to coordinate the facilitation of investment activities in the petroleum and petrochemical hub. We are also to collaborate with investors for the development of this petroleum hub. So in terms of investment, our mandates are very clear. And so when we go out to market for opportunity, we want to go with all sister agencies and partners be able to bring this vision to light. I'm happy that the MP for Jomara is here, and I'm sure she'll be happy why her location was selected for this project. In fact, there were 3 locations that were looked at in the selection of a location for a project of this nature. And Jomara came tops in all of these highlights why the location is suited for the purpose of this project. So we're looking at the availability of land, we're looking at how we're going to get that vast land to be able to carry out this project. And Jomara and the people of Jomara has given us 20,000 acres to be able to carry out the mandate that the President has given to us. Again, there are a few communities that are supposed to be resettled in this infrastructure development. In the 20,000 acres, currently we are only relocating or resettling 4 communities and 2 other adjoining communities. And so most of the communities that we're looking to resettle are mostly hamlets with very limited populace, and so we don't have to pay so much cost in terms of compensation. Then again, we still haven't paid anyway. So we're hoping that much as there are few, we'll be able to find the resources to do that almost immediately. Also, comparing the water depth in terms of the coast or the sea with other locations that were looked at, Jomara was selected because the depth of the sea, just about 5 kilometers into the water, gives you the sea depth that can accommodate all manner of vessels, whether it's ultra-large crude carriers, or VLCCs we call it, or any manner of vessel. And if you look at those that are in petroleum, the bigger your vessel, the more investments you're able to make, and also the cost savings you're able to make there, because then you're able to make large quantities of crude and not incur a lot of cost in terms of your shipment. So that was also part of the reasons Jomara was selected. Again, there's also an existing infrastructure backbone in terms of roads, because there's a lot of development on that side of the country. Ghana Gas is there, most of the roads are done. And so in terms of motorability and logistics in doing trade, Jomara came tops together with other locations that were looked at in terms of the infrastructure backbone. Ghana as a location, and probably where Jomara is situated, also puts us quite close to the Sahelian market, for which reason we think is a better destination for doing business. And to top it all, and I'm sure we have all engaged on the Trans-ECOWAS National Highway, which is going to be from Elubo all the way to Lagos. We're just lying 7 kilometers away from that infrastructure. And so we think that once that is done, it opens up a place for a lot of development in terms of transnational trade. And I'm sure the colleagues from AFTA will speak more to these once we get to their section. So this is the beautiful land that LUSPA developed for us once Jomara gave us the land. So this is our spatial planning. We've been able to mark up the block areas in terms of the infrastructure, but we're also working with development partners to be able to develop a more detailed master plan so that the development of the enclave is quite quicker, and then we can avoid the mistakes that other enclaves made when they were doing their development. Why are we saying that Ghana is a destination for energy trading or the trading of refined products? I think from 2017 up until 2024, we've always been on the ascendancy in terms of our consumption. And so if we look at the patterns as we have it, and this is not just the pattern of Ghana, similar countries within the sub-region also follow similar patterns. So we feel that if we're able to do this petroleum hub, then it's going to help us in terms of our energy security, in terms of trading among ourselves as far as AFTA is concerned, and then we can engage better when we go on the global market to source and look for fuels. This is where the conversation gets interesting. Where are we getting all the products that we consume as a country and as a continent from? If you look at the charts we have here, Africa is only trading 15% of our consumption. And so if, as a continent, we are only trading 15%, then we have 85% to do in terms of business. And for which reason we think that if Ghana takes the lead in building this hub in Africa, then we have 85% of business to do with our investors that will come in country. What are we seeking to develop? And I get this all the time when I make presentations, that this is an audacious and ambitious investment. But we can only tell ourselves that as Ghanaians, we're very ambitious. And we're very ambitious in all the right senses. So we're looking to develop 3 refineries, 5 petrochemical plants, storage tanks, jetties and port infrastructure, plus all the other services that revolves around oil and gas trading activities. So, in terms of our ancillary infrastructure, we're looking at pipeline infrastructure, we're looking at lubricant services or lube blending, we're looking at fabrication workshops, and all the other developments that come with oil and gas activities, which we are seriously marketing to investors to take advantage of. When we come on the petrochemical side, we get the conversation that we're moving away from fossil fuels. So currently there's very low investments in terms of fossil fuels, but we push the conversation further and say, yes, we might not be using fuels for transportation and all the other things that comes with it, but there are so many other things that goes into several other sectors that comes from fossil fuels. So we would be living with fossil fuel in a very long time. When we come to electronics, when we come to petrochemicals, in the area of pharmaceuticals, plastics, and all the other things that comes out of fossil fuel, which is the reason why we decided to push the conversation from refineries into petrochemical plants and increase the numbers in petrochemicals, because we think that with the right technologies, if they're even in the next couple of years not using the refineries, they could push all the developments that comes in the derivatives into petrochemical production. Then we have the other services that my CEO usually would like to say, these ones that the Ghanaians, we can all do some. So in terms of other services, in terms of the manufacturing, I think we need a lot of Ghanaian participation in that, and that's what is going to transform our economies into creating a lot of jobs. This is the rationale. I picked this slide mainly from GIPC. I acknowledge them if they're here. But this is the reason we think that Ghana should be a destination for investment. Why? We have the workforce for it. Sometimes when we sit in our country, we think that we have a lot of illiterates until you travel out to know that the skill sets in Ghana are actually very high in the index. And so we have the natural resources to support our economy. We have the availability of land for the development. We have access to vibrant shipping routes. I think where Ghana is located, it takes us close to about 6 to 8 hours to get to every destination around the world, most of the trading routes. And so we think Ghana is the central location where investment should happen. Because of the size of the project, we're looking for 60 billion minimum. I like to stress on the minimum because sometimes people feel how your economy is not even 60 billion, but we're looking for 60 billion plus in terms of investment. So we phase the project into 3, and these are the phases that we're selling to investors if they're interested in locating their businesses within the enclave. So together with our partners in Ghana Free Zones Authority, our enclave is also declared as a free zones area, which means that every incentive that accrues to companies within a free zones enclave accrues to the companies that are situating their businesses within our hub. So they get 100% tax exemptions on duties and levies. Income tax is waived off for 10 years, and thereafter they do 15%. Mind you, all the companies that are outside of the enclave do 25% in terms of income taxes, but once you're within the Petroleum Hub enclave, you do 15%. There are also no restrictions on repatriations of funds, but you still have to discuss that with the central bank when you want to move money out of the country. And then on top of that, you're also free from the taxes on withholding taxes and other payments that you make to your shareholders in terms of dividend. Currently, this is part of the opportunities that we are marketing to investors. We want to develop the enclave and put in the basic infrastructure by ourselves. So we want a plug-and-play approach where investors come in and they can almost service their businesses immediately. So all of these are what we are promising investors, that if you locate your business within the Petroleum Hub Enclave, you'll be able to enjoy all of these benefits. Then the final reason why I want to make a case strongly for Ghana to become an energy hub is the fact that, like the CEO said, this is the first of its kind in Africa. And so these are all the energy hubs that we buy fossil fuel products from to consume as a continent. And we keep asking ourselves, why can't we do that? So if we're able to work together to bring this project to light, then we might just have the red dots in Africa to show that Ghana also has an energy hub. On this note, I would like to thank you for indulging me for these few minutes, but I'm thinking that as regulators, every now and then when investors knock on your doors, you haven't had an overview of what we do, what we're seeking to do, the opportunities that are available, please drive them to our doorstep and we'll be happy to receive them. We'll be happy to acknowledge you as well for giving us the opportunities in terms of investment. Thank you very much. I'll pass the baton to my colleague to run us through the models in terms of operations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, honorable ministers, esteemed CEOs, ladies and gentlemen. I hope the sound is okay, because I can hear myself here. My name is Gov't Owusu Abrokwa, and my job here this morning is actually very simple. I'm here to help define some of the main issues that we need to discuss in order for us to be able to meet some of our mandate. So as has already been relayed, the PHDC was established by Act 1053 to promote and develop, please hold on at the back for me, to promote and develop a petroleum and petrochemical hub in Ghana. Our mandate can be found in Section 3 of the Act. And this is, if you read through this, this is all our mandate, but for today, we're going to focus on Section 3D and Section 3E. And I read, for Section 3D, it states, assist companies that seek to operate in the hub to acquire all relevant licenses and permits from the relevant regulatory bodies to develop and operate the facilities within the hub. So one of our major mandates is to help with our investors getting permits and licenses. Section 3E talks about coordinate and facilitate investment activities in the hub. In combining these two, that's Section 3D and Section 3E, we realize that in order to operationalize this, we have to reduce the turnaround times in securing business licenses and development construction permits for our investors. We also have to provide a one-stop shop. Thank you. We also have to provide a one-stop shop so that when investors come to talk to us, we will be able to help them with all their needs. Currently, in terms of getting permits, as we already know, for the hub, we'll have a refinery, we'll have storage, we'll have petrochemical plants. in order to get all the permits before the investor even starts to make any money, you're looking at 370 days approximately. And that is if you have all your paperwork properly lined up. Without that, this number can go really high. When we look at the water treatment and waste treatment, you're looking at 331 days just to be able to get all your permits. For a power plant, you're looking at 418 days approximately. And once again, like I said, this is if you have all your paperwork lined up properly. And when you look at the business center, residential projects, light industries, 328 days. So considering all of this, it's very obvious that we spend a lot of time, or our investors spend a lot of time trying to get permits in order to get their work done in our country, which in itself is a bit of a deterrent, because no investor wants to wait that long to start making money on their investment. So just as an example, if an investor came in today, managed to go through immigration with all the timelines there and everything, and decided they wanted to build a refinery, obviously they will have to set up a company in the country. They'll go to GIPC. All those two permits will go straight to EPA when you do your EI and you apply for an EPA permit. You need to show that. Alongside that, you need your fire report, you need your development permit. Obviously, you have to show the land that you're using. You need your DFI, certificate of registration. These are just permits. These ones do not include the engineering drawings, your PNIDs, your general layouts, your geotechnical work and all of that. None of this is captured here. We're talking just permits. So all of this, and if, as you can see, aside from the times, you also have approximate costs for each of these permits. So at the end, it goes to NPA. NPA obviously will ask for all the documentation you got back there. And I'm not sure if you can see in this little corner here, your first license at NPA is license to establish a refinery. That's $20,000. And I know MPA is here, so if the numbers don't seem right, I stand corrected, but I took it from your website. So the permit to construct is $20,000. And for a 300 barrel per stream day refinery, you're looking at $450,000 to operate. What that means, all these numbers, is that from the time the investor arrives, taking out their engineering drawings, taking out all the technical work, just focusing strictly on permits. Some of the smaller permits obviously are not even shown here. What you're looking at is they would have spent, from that time to the time where they start producing, they would have spent 10 million Ghana cedis just on permits. And that in itself is a bit of a problem. Aside from that, they would have spent an approximate number of days, 370 days, before they even start to realize anything. So, just to drive home the point, you just saw this slide from our previous presentation on investments. These are the phases. So if you took phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and you focused only on, let's say, NPA and EPA permits, you're looking at, for phase 1, approximately 19 million Ghana cedis. For phase 2, approximately 29 million Ghana cedis, and same for phase 3. So the problem is quite obvious. We see that we're not, everybody has a mandate. Everybody, all the agencies have an act that brought them into being, and they're going, based on their acts and their fees and charges. But because we're working in silos, we're having a bit of a problem when you're looking at it from the investment side of things. So in attracting investors, it makes it look like, okay, I have to go through all of this even before I can start to generate any funds to pay back whatever money I borrowed to do the work. Now, the factors that we believe are affecting the turnaround time. Obviously, the regulations, I just talked about that, in terms of all of us being bound by the acts that created us. Our procedures are such that majority of the procedures are not being done in parallel. They are being done, you have to finish with your registration before you go to GIPC, before you go to NPA, and then you need a bit of the EPA. You need a bit of information from EPA before you get your fire report. There's an opportunity to create efficiencies in the system if we could do certain things in parallel. But once again, like I said, we're all bound by our acts that created us. So this is not a simple conversation, but it's something that requires that we have this kind of dialogue, and with the right people in the right place, we're able to discuss some of these things to make sure that we're able to meet our mandate. You also have, because of the nature of the Petroleum Hub project, you have multiple agencies involved. I started by talking about immigration. If you decide to do a port, you have Ghana Maritimes there. Just the general security situation in the area, obviously is oil and gas, so you have Ghana Police, you have the Navy involved, you have EPA, you have NPA, you have the town council, so many agencies involved, because at the end of the day, it's not just a regular project. We're building a total city from scratch, with the economic engine of that city being petroleum. So everything you can think about in terms of building a city is what we're doing, and all those things require the right permits. And hence our reason for having such a dialogue and being so grateful that every single one of you is here to contribute to this conversation. So, what's the challenge? In a simple sentence, the diversity of permitting regimes of regulatory institutions, each with its own procedures, timelines, and requirements, pose a significant challenge. Our job here is to seek your help on how to deal with this. And we hope and we pray that with you being here, we will be able to make some very good headway on this discussion. Thank you very much.
We can definitely do better. I was standing there and following the presentation by Kojo Muswabakwa, and I kept asking myself, if I have to spend over 300 days, why? I wouldn't do that. And you see, the 300 days we're talking about is minus the weekends, which means we are actually going to sometimes spend a year and a half just getting your permits right. I'm sure we'll all agree that nobody is against the issuing of permits. The right things must be done. But how do we ensure the processes are shorter so that the much needed investment is attained? All over the world today, the ease of big business, you can see countries inviting investors, and what they tell them is that within 30 days, sometimes 15 days, you're able to start your business. If you have to wait for a year and a half, you probably will go to the next country that is willing to accept your investment. So I'm happy we are going to be having this conversation. I'm happy that all the regulatory bodies are here, and even as we prepare for the panel discussion, based on the presentations we've had so far, I'm sure by now they're looking at ways of making the processes shorter. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for accepting to do this for us. Let's acknowledge them. Let's give them a round of applause. The National Petroleum Authority, Environmental Protection Agency, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, and then the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority. We're happy that you've accepted to be part of this conversation. So, during the presentation, Wabi also talked about the fact that very soon the African Continental Free Trade Area representative will address us and tell us some of the things concerning the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. Indeed, we have a representative from the African Continental Free Trade Area. Let's welcome him with a round of applause as he gives us some brief remarks. Like I indicated, we applaud them so they get here. Good.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Richard Jan Mensah, Deputy Minister for Energy and Green Transition. Dr. Tony Obin, Chief Executive Officer of the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation. Captains of industries, esteemed representatives of regulatory institutions, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am highly elated and honored to be invited to participate in this historic maiden inter-agency dialogue aimed at engaging with strategic stakeholders and partners to establish Ghana as a regional petroleum hub on the African continent. I would like to first and foremost thank Dr. Tony Owen and his team of experts at the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation for organizing this very important stakeholder consultation. As you may be aware, petroleum plays a critical role in the development of countries due to its vast application in energy, industry, and economic growth. However, despite Africa's substantial crude oil production consistently accounting for around 8 to 10% of global output over the past 2 decades, the continent's share and global oil refining capacity remains alarmingly low at 2% and continues to decline. Consequently, Africa's dependence on imported refined petroleum products has significantly increased, with imports surging by over and continues to decline. Consequently, Africa's dependence on imported refined petroleum products has significantly increased, with imports surging by over 50% between the year 2000 and 2020, according to International Energy Agency data. Ladies and gentlemen, the operationalization of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement has birthed and heightened sense of urgency to harness Africa's abundant resources to fuel industrialization, create jobs, and spur regional integration. Therefore, Africa's energy sector, long characterized by fragmented markets and dependency on external actors, is poised for a profound transformation. The African Continental Free Trade Area, the largest free trade area in the world by the number of countries, will eliminate tariffs on 97% of goods traded across the continent and harmonize regulations, licensing, and established and mandated to coordinate Ghana's implementation efforts. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a strategic asset and a game changer for the African continent. With planned investments exceeding $60 billion and critical infrastructure such as refineries, petrochemical plants, storage facilities, jetties, LNG terminals, and associated services, the hub will anchor Ghana's emergence as the energy nerve center for West Africa and Africa as a whole. Under the AFTA, the hub can become a regional export center for refined petroleum and petrochemical products. It could also be a manufacturing base for a variety of ancillary products that will feed agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, and healthcare, consumer goods sectors, and generate crucial export revenue for the country. The next benefit will be a logistic and maritime services hub integrated with AFTA's envisaged corridors and trade facilitation mechanisms. The National AFTA Coordination Office stands ready to collaborate with the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation with other relevant allied trade institutions to 1. Streamline continental cross-border trade in petroleum and petrochemical products under preferential tariffs, while advocating for harmonized energy regulations and reduced non-tariff barriers across African markets. 2. It would align the petroleum hub's investment priorities with continental strategies under AFTA and jointly organize investor roadshows and public-private partnership initiatives to attract capital into energy, infrastructure, and value-added services. Thirdly, it will position the petroleum hub as a strategic node within Africa's petroleum and petrochemical value chains, leveraging AFTA's framework to expand refining, storage, and regional distribution networks. Fourthly, it would facilitate technical assistance, training programs, and expert exchanges to strengthen PHDC's capacities in trade facilitation, investment negotiations, and industrial policy formulation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in concluding, I would say that the task before us is ambitious. It therefore demands collective effort, vision, and decisive action to make it happen. Let us take advantage of the unparalleled opportunity presented by the Petroleum Hub project to position Ghana and by extension Africa as a dynamic force in global energy, manufacturing, and trade. Let today's dialogue not merely inform us, but transform our collaboration into bold action. Together, let us build Ghana, build Africa that trades with itself, manufactures for itself, powers itself, and prospers by itself. I thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you.
We can definitely do better. Thank you very much, Benjamin Sim of the African Continental Free Trade Area. I like the fact that you conclude on the fact that we must transform, and in transforming we must collaborate to ensure that we are able to achieve the transformation that we all desire as a people. Let me acknowledge the presence of the Minister of Trade, Industry and Agribusiness, the Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, who is in our presence. Thank you very much for joining us. And let me say that even before she got here, she had actually sent her representatives to be here. So she's always been with us since the start of the program. We'll now invite the representative of the Energy Commission, Robert Yeboah, to give us some brief remarks. Let's welcome Robert with a round of applause as he joins us.
Good morning, honorable ministers, CEOs, directors here present, invited guests, and all protocols observed. I'm here on behalf of the Executive Secretary of the Energy Commission, Mrs. Richim Eunice. As in accordance with the Energy Commission's mandate as the Energy Commission Act 1997 at 541, the Commission is entrusted with the responsibility to regulate, manage, develop, and ensure the efficient utilization of energy resources in Ghana. The Act also mandates the Commission to grant licenses for the transmission, wholesale supply, distribution, and sale of both electricity and natural gas. These responsibilities form the foundation of our commitment to the national development. In line with this mandate, I wish to reaffirm the Energy Commission's readiness and full support for the successful implementation of the Petroleum Hub project. We stand prepared to play our part, particularly in facilitating, overseeing initiatives related to natural gas and electricity, especially power plants and LNG terminals. So, together, through collaboration and sound regulations, we can build a robust energy sector that drives sustainable development and secures Ghana's place for a regional energy leader. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Robert Yeboah of the Energy Commission. We shall now invite the Minister of Trade, Industry and Agribusiness, the Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, to give us some brief remarks. Let's welcome her with a round of applause.
Thank you very much. I am vertically challenged. Honorable Dorcas Afo-Teli, MP for Jomoro. I just learned her surname. It's a shame. We've been together and I didn't know her surname. The CEO of Petroleum Hub Development Corporation, Dr. Tony Ogwen, and your deputies. I also see other CEOs here in present. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my honor to join you today for this landmark event about trade, investment, and industrialization. Distinguished guests, energy and trade are sides of the same coin in driving economic growth. A globally competitive petroleum hub is not just about oil and gas, it's about value addition, it's about job creation, and it's also about opening new frontiers for intra-African and international trade. An efficient and investor-friendly energy hub will serve as the engine for a diversified export economy. It will supply competitively priced petroleum products, petrochemical, and industrial raw material that are critical to scaling up our manufacturing, agribusiness, and logistics sectors. Today's dialogue represents a clear opportunity to align our national ambitions with global market realities. By unlocking synergies across regulatory agencies and government institutions, we can accelerate the transformation of Ghana into a trading powerhouse in Africa and beyond. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Petroleum Hub project sits at the center of Ghana's broader trade agenda. With the advent of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, Ghana is uniquely positioned to become a supply hub for energy products across West Africa and the entire continent. The successful development of the Petroleum Hub will reduce import dependency by enabling domestic production of refined petroleum and petrochemical products. It will also support the growth of allied industries such as plastics, fertilizers, and pharmaceuticals. It will again boost non-traditional exports, linked value addition, and then help in the chemical production. It will strengthen our balance of payments through export revenues and foreign direct investment, my passion. At the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, we are focused on ensuring that trade policies, export incentives, and investment frameworks are fully aligned with the strategic vision of the Petroleum Hub. To our esteemed investors hearing present, we are working closely with PHDC and relevant ministries to eliminate bureaucratic bottlenecks. We are committed to fast-tracking approvals for trade-related permits and certificates linked to the Petroleum Hub. At the Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, we have a BRR unit, Business Regulatory Reforms Unit, which is a one-stop shop for our investors. If you want land registration, if you want permits, it's a one-stop shop. Anytime you are thinking investment in Ghana, be there and you are sure that everything will be done expeditiously for you. We will provide trade facilitation services that reduce transaction costs and improve ease of doing business. And we will continue to build trade infrastructure such as export warehouses, logistics centers, bonders facilities to support the efficient movement of goods from the hub to domestic and international markets. We believe that an integrated approach where energy development and trade promotion go hand in hand is the surest way to make Ghana the energy hub of choice for investors across the globe. In closing, I will say that building a world-class petroleum and petrochemical hub is not just a dream, it is an imperative. It is a shared national ambition that calls for our collective action. Government agencies, private sector players, development partners, and investors alike. Let us unlock the synergies. Let us break down the silos. And let us work together to build an energy hub that is not only globally competitive, but also globally respectable. I thank you for your kind attention. May God bless our effort and make our nation great and strong. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjari, and thank you for your commitment and also the promise of improving the ease of doing business, which means that we're actually on course, and it means that by the time we leave here, we're going to have the commitment of all the agencies in fulfilling the dream of the CEO of the Petroleum Hub Development Corporation, Dr. Tony Obeng, who hopes that by the time we leave here, at least we start working with all the regulatory processes within 30 days, right? 30 days, you say 30 days. Yes, and so when we get into the panel discussion, that's one of the things we're going to be exploring. A very brief panel discussion that will explore what all these agencies are prepared to do to ensure that we're able to attain that 30 days target. But Before we get into the panel discussion, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of, I would like to acknowledge the various agencies that are here. The National Petroleum Authority is here. I've seen the CEO, Duchi Tamaklo, and other staff of the NPA. The EPA is also here. The GIPC, TOR, Ghana Immigration Service, Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Yes, I've seen persons from Ghana Export Promotion Authority. Thank you very much for being here. I've seen Energy Commission, BEST, Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, We Power Authority. You're also here. Thank you very much for being here. The Ghana Railway Development Authority. Those of you who are representing the Ghana Railway Development Authority could just show by hand, would acknowledge you. Thank you very much. The African Continental Free Trade Area. Okay, I've seen you, Benjamin Isiam. The Ghana Grain Company, for those of you who are representing GrainCo, just show by hand so we can acknowledge you. Thank you very much for being here. The Volta River Authority, you're also here. Let's see the representative of the Volta River Authority. Thank you very, very much for being here. And the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Oh, you see, thank you very much. I'm also told that the Ghana National Fire Service is here. Okay, thank you very much for making the time to join us. We have the Ghana Institute of Surveyors. If you're here, just show. Okay, we can see you. The NCA is also here. Who are those representing the NCA? Oh, great. I'm told we have the Ghana Exim Bank also here. Okay, all right, so all the agencies are here. But we'd also like to acknowledge, the various ministries that have sent persons to come and join us for this morning's program. I'm told that, of course, we've seen the Minister and Deputy Minister of Energy and Green Transition. I'm told there are representatives from the Ministry of Defense who have been asked to come here. So is the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, the Ministry of Sports and Recreation, Ministry of Labor, Jobs and Employment, as well as the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources, Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, including the Ministry of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Ministry of Roads and Highways, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So everybody who matters is here this morning. And for me, that's the most important thing. So what that means is that all the decisions that we'll be taking at this forum are decisions that are being taken because the various ministries and their ministers are actually committed and have dispatched persons to be here. I'm also told that for those of you who may want to step out and have a cup of coffee or maybe tea or maybe fruit juice or drink, you could kindly step out there. Not many of us should go out at the same time, so one at a time maybe, for those of us who may want to grab something. We're going to get into the panel discussion now, so that for those of us who may want to grab something and bring it to the room, we can definitely do so. We'll just step out, grab, maybe say a coffee, tea, or juice, and then we can get back into the conversation, because it's very, very important that we talk about how we can streamline the regulatory processes. It'll be important for us to have a conversation on streamlining, permitting, and regulatory processes for investor confidence and ease of doing business. And very soon we'll be joined by representatives from the National Petroleum Authority, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, as well as the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, who would help us get into the conversation. And once we're done with that conversation, we will be done. Okay, so the Honourable Minister would have to leave us at this point. She has other important meetings to attend to. Honourable Elizabeth Osajari, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are very grateful.